Pixar and Marvel are my top two favourite movie studios of all time, so I thought it would be fun to have the two studios face off against each other. There will be 5 categories including highest Rotten Tomatoes critic score, highest audience score, winner of the poll I recently put on YouTube, best franchise and my personal favourite studio. In each of the rounds, the winning studio will gain 1 point and the studio with the most points by the end will be the overall winner. Every single one of Marvel Studios' films has a fresh Rotten Tomatoes critic score, and the only Pixar movie to receive a rotten score is Cars 2. When averaging out all of Pixar's films, their average critic score is an impressive 89.2%. And both Toy Story and Toy Story 2 have a perfect 100% critic score. Marvel's average Rotten Tomatoes critic score is an equally impressive 84.5%. Their lowest rated film is Thor: The Dark World, holding a decent 66% critic score, but their highest rated film Black Panther only has a 96%, so this point easily goes to Pixar. Moving on to highest Rotten Tomatoes audience score, Marvel's highest rated film is Spider-Man Homecoming, which has a 95% audience score, while Pixar's highest rated film according to audiences is Toy Story, which only has a 92% audience score, so the point for this round easily goes to Marvel. Moving on to the next round, which will be determined by the winner of the poll that I recently put out on YouTube to find out which studio my viewers prefer, is up next. Marvel was easily the winner of this poll, as currently Marvel has 78% of the votes, while Pixar only had 22%. So once again, this round goes to Marvel. For the next round, I'll be choosing the best franchise from both Pixar and Marvel and have them face off against each other to determine which studio has the better franchise. I've chosen the Toy Story franchise for Pixar and the Avengers franchise for Marvel. The original Toy Story is arguably one of the best animated films of all time, and Toy Story 2 and 3 were almost as good as the original, with both being among the best animated movies ever. Toy Story 4, however, isn't quite on the same level as the previous 3 films, but is still very entertaining. So overall, if I were to give the Toy Story franchise an overall rating, I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10. I know it's the unpopular opinion, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the original Avengers and much prefer every one of its later installments. Age of Ultron upped the stakes and in my opinion did a better job at balancing comedy with action. Infinity War and Endgame are on a whole other level than the 2 previous Avengers movies, but still aren't quite as good as the original 3 Toy Story movies, at least in my opinion. I'd give the Avengers franchise a solid 8 out of 10, but I find the Toy Story movies more rewatchable and slightly more enjoyable than the Avengers movies, so this round goes to Pixar. If you've been keeping track, you'd know that it's currently all tied up, as both studios has 2 points, so the final round will be decided based on which studio I personally prefer. The winner of this round will determine the overall winner. As I mentioned at the start of this video, I adore both Marvel Studios and Pixar. They are both in my top 2 favourite movie studios of all time, but my favourite out of the 2 has to be Pixar, because Pixar have better consistency, as the only average film they've made are Brave and The Good Dinosaur, and even those are mildly enjoyable. I know that I have some unpopular opinions with Marvel, but there are quite a few movies that I personally don't really like, including Doctor Strange and The Incredible Hulk, which are nowhere near as enjoyable as both bottom tier Pixar movies in my opinion. If I were put in a situation where I could only continue to watch one set of movies for the rest of my life from either studio, I'd quite easily choose Pixar, as I have so much more nostalgia for those movies than I do for Marvel's films. In the end, Pixar has 3 points and Marvel has 2 points, so the overall winner is Pixar. Let me know if you agree that Pixar deserved the dub, or do you think that Marvel is a better studio overall? Let me know in the comment section below.